into the cloud. So thank you all for joining here. This is the Northeast, our technical Zoom call. I will share some additional information with you where the success that we've had originally in New England, then as you're well aware, we expanded to Quebec and Southern Ontario over the past several years. So now we're looking to expand this beyond that. So we've had our first meeting of the Mid-America Group, which was last Wednesday, included members from Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, and Kentucky. So that was the Mid-America Group. We had 27 on their very first call. So it really kind of exceeded the expectations that Jake Jacobs, who's the facilitator for that, and we had both Jeff Parada and Daryl Wagner as our experts and had some really great conversations. We're rolling out on Tuesday, the 9th of December, the Plains. And the Plains are Kentucky, Illinois, Texas, Kansas, Oklahoma, Michigan, and Wisconsin. So what our plan is similar to the success that we've had in the Northeast to roll this out to other parts of the country. So I suspect you may see some new faces and new names on the call tonight of folks that you may not have been familiar with. But again, we've leveraging this. There's was part of the delegates meeting. Just as a comment as it relates to that, we had our delegates meeting the past 2 days, Saturday and Sunday in Indianapolis. We do have a new president. Roger Hamel retired after 3 years of leading AHCA, and Ben Moore is our new president. He comes from the Bluegrass area in Kentucky. He's from Louisville. So we're very excited about that. Ben is much younger than many of us on this call. Ben's probably in his 40s. And he's, no, Chris, you're the only one in your 40s on this call, right?
Yeah, right.
But no, Ben's, I believe, in his 40s, and he's been a Healey owner since a teenager. And so we're really excited that he's taking over the helm of that. All the other officers, national officers, were going to continue for 2026. So that is all continuing as it relates to that. But again, the delegates meeting was successful. We went through there really one of the things that last year we implemented what we call the retention committee that is led by Judd Perkins, who is the delegate for New England, and there's 8 of us that have been on that retention committee. So we're going to number of things that we'll be rolling out over the next several months as it relates to new enhancements in terms of the website. You guys are probably familiar with Healey Breaking News, which are those email communications that we had as it relates to directories and new aspects of the website and new things going on in the club. And we're going to be introducing next year, we're calling a Healey Passport. And you'll be hearing more about that in time coming up. But the Healey Passport is going to be an opportunity where you will have in your glove compartment, if you've got a BJ8, or in your door pocket, it would contain your information about the car, registration information, insurance information, and it would be providing information. So as you sell your car to someone else in the future, that it would be able to show that heritage as it moves on to a potential new owner. Clearly, we know that with the average age of our members of 71, that in many instances over the next several years, these cars may be passed on to our children or grandchildren, or being sold outside of our families. So we want to make sure there's a means that we can carry that heritage on there, because we know these cars are not being destroyed. That clearly, these cars are going to outlast all of us that are on this call right now, but we want to make sure that that can be passed on for future generations. So we're going to start with our first call. And I saw Penny. I know you're on the call. Do you want to start us off, Penny, with your question, please?
Oh, sure. My questions are pretty easy, and I'm sure they've already been discussed. But my first question was, what tire pressure do most people recommend for the Healy 3000? I'm running 165 Bertestein Sprint Classics, and I've had a variety of answers over the years, and I'm just curious what you recommend.
So I think you said you're running 28 to 32 in the front.
Yeah,
Penny, is
28,
that what?
30. Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
I
that's
run
kind of
20.
where I am. Anyone have other recommendations for Penny for higher pressures?
I run 25, 26 all around.
Okay.
Wow, that much lower, John.
Wow.
Yep.
That for bias or radial, sir?
These are radials. They're continentals. Um,
I've always
One-
used 30
one-
all around.
So maybe is the air pressure heavier in Nova Scotia than it is down here in the United States, John?
we're well, we're farther away from the equator. I'm not sure how that plays in. No, it's 165 R15s, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're narrow tires. They got the 4.5-inch rims.
Hmm.
I think that comes right out of the manual.
Yeah. I'm down here in Texas, and I kind of had the same question. I did a survey of the literature and what people are running, and I came up with 32 all around.
That's what I think I was told, but I can't even tell you who told me. I didn't find it in the document. I can tell you that for sure.
We generally run all the tires at 30 to 32. If you're traveling with a trunk full of goodies, then you need 32. Otherwise, we run at 30. The
Great, thanks, Bob.
lower pressures that are mentioned back in the olden days, when radial tires first came out, they ran them all at 19 and 20 psi. And it was later that they discovered that they run far better at a higher pressure.
That's interesting. I actually read something that said 50 pounds, and I did a trip up to Canada with 50 pounds, and it was pretty
Wow.
smooth.
50. Wow.
I know that was a
I've
lot.
never heard of 50.
No.
Mm.
Wow.
5 here.
No, I've never heard of 50, but
Yeah.
we routinely put tires at 30 and 32.
Does anybody?
I initially ran at 30 and 32, and I found the car rode really hard. You know, it felt every little bump in the road.
Does anybody run nitrogen?
Nope.
No.
That's supposed to be a stable stable gas to run, and the pressures won't vary as much as they would if you were running. Let's say you're running in on a hot day. You're not supposed to heat up like just oxygen would be.
Yeah, that is quite true.
Costco's got nitrogen.
I got
Out
a
of-
recommendation from Longstone Tires in England. And they said to run 26 in the front and 29 in the rear. But I've been running 29 on all 4 of them, and it seems to be just fine. Not too hard, not too soft.
So Penny, we got lots of choices for you, don't we?
And that's the Michelin XAS.
Well,
It sounds like just run it and see which way I'm most comfortable and keep it somewhere in that
Hmm.
28,
official-
30, 32.
the official book says 20 pounds front, 23 pounds in the rear, 26 for a full load for the rear.
There you go.
According to this,
Thank you. Right.
Yeah.
They're British pounds.
oh, now I
But
don't know.
yeah, it is for bias tires.
That's for tubeless. Doesn't say anything about radials or not. Or 1.41 kilograms per square centimeter, and 1.62 kilograms per centimeter. Anyways, 20 pounds.
Thanks,
seems a little
David.
light.
My
Now,
question.
Penny,
My question is, how do people know they're running the wrong pressure? What do they feel? What's the problem?
Well, I started out at the bias pile recommendation, couldn't keep the wheels on the ground, up the pressure and had much better traction.
So it's a traction issue for you. What about ride?
More confident ride for me.
I found that running them at 32, I get a very harsh ride, and I run them around 26, 28.
Yeah, that's same as me.
Yeah, if
Well,
if my
25,
wife is
26.
with me, then we go 26. If she's not, then we're 30.
Wow. I'm not going to tell my wife that.
Well, that's
If
what
you
brought it up
have,
for me. It
if
was
you
it's
have a
a much harsher
digital
ride.
thermometer, if you have a digital thermometer and you go out and you're driving along and you get out and you check the left, right, and center temperatures, and they are almost the same, then you are running approximately the right pressure for that individual tire and that individual car.
That's absolutely correct. How we choose race tires by measuring the temperature across the tire.
Right. When I'm running my Hoosier race tires, I'm running 21.7 pounds in the morning.
Oh.
When I'm running my street tires, I'm running somewhere 26, 27, but mine are 205, 65 on
They got a lot of people
6.5 inch wide rims.
Thank you, Steve. So
Good.
Penny, it sounds like the thing here is obviously lots of choices here in terms of really whatever feels best and ride for your car, I would think would be the way to approach it.
I'll try it. I've been running. It's a little harsh ride, so that's why I wanted to ask. So I'll play around with some different PSIs and see. But I
Now,
think
Penny, you also had a question about brake hoses, I believe.
yeah, I think that one.
The tires.
Excuse me? Someone had something else to add?
Dave Roberts has a question on the tires. How much difference does it make in terms of the size of the tire?
I know
Does
I'm
pressure make a difference with size?
I'm
So,
185 on my 3000.
I know a 185 on a 5.5 inch rim on a BJ8. Anything less than 30, you need 3 arms to steer it.
Right, I agree.
That's not the tire's fault. That's not the car's fault, Bob.
Oh, get back in your snowbank.
So Penny, you also had a question regarding brake hoses in
I
terms
did.
of what's the recommendation there in terms of rubber or braided? Anyone have recommendations for Penny on that? And she's got a mark too.
I have strong feelings about braided brake hoses. One of the processes I use for determining if you've got air in a caliper or in a wheel cylinder is I carefully clamp off the hose. You can't do that with braided hoses, so I don't like them.
Thanks, Michael.
I saw lots of choices out there. Is there any particular brand anyone recommends? Because I don't know when they were replaced last. And after replacing the clutch slave cylinder, I think they most likely need to be replaced.
Think I've got braided hoses from Moss, and they're about 2 inches too short.
Well, again, you heard Michael's recommendation is not using braided. So, anyone have a preference in terms of, H spares or Moss or Head for Heelys or anything as it relates to providers for the rubber brake hoses?
Having been in the business for a while, I'd go so far as to say that all those suppliers probably don't have a set source for their hoses. They probably buy them where they can get them.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Michael. So Penny, I think what we heard there is obviously there's a thought that it's definitely using better rubber than the braided. And then, sounds like there's multiple sources out there.
All right, I'll work on that next. That's a winter project.
That's true. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ted Cryer, you had a question regarding your BN1 and the ground strap in terms of where's because that you said there've been modifications that were done to your car where it's going right now from the bell housing to the positive terminal on the battery in your BN1.
Yeah,
So you're asking.
yeah, a prior owner had, I guess that he did this when he was vintage racing it, not seriously, but I'll say gentlemanly vintage racing it. But it's got a very, very heavy duty cable going from the bell housing all the way to the battery. And because it's so big, it's kind of hanging below the frame actually, or on the bottom edge of the frame. And I'd like to get rid of that hanging there. It's not sloppy hanging there, but it'd be nicer to get it back up like it should be. So, so if I do that, I also wanted to put a ground cable on from the engine to the chassis. And I don't know where one would go because it doesn't have one right now. And I don't know where it would go from. If there's some place on the frame or the motor mount or some place it would originally have attached. And I don't know if anybody has any, can tell me that. Oh.
On
Would
my,
you be able to help out Ted with that?
on my MGA, I hooked it to the bolt on the starter motor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, that's where your highest current draw is.
My TR4 has it going from the front motor mount to a spot on the frame with one of those braided cables. And I was looking for something similar to that. And my TVR has from the frame to the engine also. And I can't find anything like that on the BN1.
Double check.
All right, so
It's Dave Harmon. I'm not available.
Michael
Regarding
Salter,
the-
you look like you were about to say something. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I got lost there.
Okay.
Regarding the ground strap on a
I'll take it.
the BN1 on the
Steve Hibbard, can you put your phone on mute?
Yep.
on
Sorry.
a BN1, the original ground strap runs from a bell housing bolt, which is the first bolt up from the bottom on the right-hand side when you're looking forward. And if you look at the chassis right near that point, you'll see there's a weld nut right in the chassis where the other end of the strap goes. So it's a braided strap that runs from that bolt on the bell housing to the anchor nut on the chassis. That's the original.
I will look for that. Thank you, Michael. Okay. And if I don't find any nut there, I'll just drill a hole and put something in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Well, it's possible. Do you think there's been any welding done to your chassis so that embedded nut may not be there?
No, I think it's probably there from everything we've ever seen. The chassis is undamaged and anything. It's a pretty nice original looking chassis, fortunately. So I bet there's a spot there.
Yeah, there's usually lots of oil leaks in that area, so it doesn't rust.
I have no rust for all those dripping reasons. Thank you.
Michael, would that be true for a BN2 also?
Yes.
Yes, that's true as on a BN2 as well.
Thanks, Michael. Bob Britton, you had a question regarding your voltage regulator and the erratic readings that you're getting out of on the charging the battery.
Yes. I don't know if I have a problem with charging, but I have an unusual, for years, there was no way to know what you were charging at. The little white light, the generator, you'd start the car, the white light goes out, and you're charging okay, and I'm charging okay. A few years ago, I put in a 12-volt socket, so I could charge my cell phone and most recently I put a GPS in my car. And recently I put in a 12-volt adapter in, a USB adapter
Do you need her?
that
I might, I might
had
something
a
like that.
uh, I mean, for years I just had a regular adapter that I plugged into, and no problem. I mean, the car runs fine. And then all of a sudden I got an adapter that actually reads out the voltage. And I've noticed when I start my car up, the voltage goes up into the high 14 range and is sometimes as high as over 15. And then the flasher starts blinking like I'm overcharging the battery. And but that's not all the time, but every time I start it up, it's well in the 14 range, 14.6, 14.8. I drive the car for about 15, 20 minutes, and then it'll eventually settle down to the low 13s. But I'm always concerned about that high voltage initially. And, because I've heard that, anything over 13.2 or 13.5, you can overcharge the batteries. So I'm just wondering if I have an issue that I should be concerned about. And is it the voltage regulator that's not regulating it?
So you're running a generator or an alternator?
Generator.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me. On my Healy, you can go as high as, well, around 15.3, 15.4 with a generator, and it's different with an alternator.
Oh, okay. So you see that kind of reading.
Yeah, I have a digital readout on mine, and of course it's also affected by temperature as well. So as the engine bay warms up, your regulator characteristics change.
Yes,
Would they go lower as it warms up?
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe that's why it settles down,
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, do I have to be concerned with that initial high voltage reading?
Mine's been working fine with that
Yeah,
reading.
well, like I said, I've been driving this car for 30 years, and it's
Yeah.
probably been charging that way the whole time. But until I put the adapter in that shows me a voltage, I had no idea what kind of voltage was my generator was, or my regulator was putting back into the battery.
Well,
And
when you
I was
start-
on a trip. I was on a trip, and someone told me, oh, I'm going to fry my battery at 15 volts.
Well, when you start, you draw a lot of energy out of the battery, and then of course the generator has to, put it back. So initially it'll be working pretty hard at the beginning, and then as the battery charge comes up, it tapers off.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, as John says, the output from the regulator is determined by the voltage in the system. So if the system voltage is low, then the regulator puts out more voltage to build it up, and then they come to an equilibrium. So what you're seeing is a slightly discharged battery requiring a higher charge. So what you're seeing is absolutely normal.
Okay, but my batteries, I've checked the battery when I started it up, and it's like at 12.6. So it seems to be fully charged when I start the car up, but maybe, cranking the car, trying to, these Healey's don't start easily. Maybe that drains it.
Cranking the car is enough to drop the battery voltage to require the thing to come up a little more. That's what it does. Yeah.
So basically, I'm running in a normal range then, is what you're saying.
Absolutely. Yeah. As John says, absolutely.
Okay. All right. I was just concerned because someone mentioned that I was running way too high voltage on going into my battery, but I do notice that it settles down after I've driven the car maybe 15, 20 miles. So then
if you were running an alternator, it might be too high.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's just the way the generator is set up.
All right. All right.
My BN1 has a battery conditioned voltage meter on it. It came with on it, so I can watch how the battery voltage is going. And I did have a problem for a point, and I had to get used to adjusting the voltage regulator, which I've had great luck with in the past. But now that everything's fine and watching how the battery voltage goes up and down when I start it, it's just like everybody's saying. It starts low, It's got to recover, goes up, and then it comes down and settles at like 13.2. So it sounds like you're okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I went out and bought a new regulator from AH Spares thinking, oh my, there's something must be wrong with my regulator. You know, I spent 50 something bucks on it, and I got it. I cleaned the points as instructed. I put it in, and the same thing. The voltage was like what? I mean, it was actually up to 16, and I'm going, oh my God. So I took it out and put my old one in. So
I've seen
I think
some
that
of
was
the
50
new.
bucks I didn't need to spend.
When I considered buying a new voltage regulator, I noticed that in the Moss catalog, and even when I looked at AH Spares, not Healy Sources, when you get it, it may require some adjustment to the voltage regulator. And I said, well, hell, if I'm gonna buy a new one and I got to adjust it, I'll just try it myself, and it worked out fine. I've done that a couple times with other cars too. So
yeah,
I think you're.
You know, I guess adjusting the voltage is easy, but I don't know about adjusting the cutout. That's a little bit more complicated, I think.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very sensitive. The tiniest little adjustment makes a difference.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so if you don't have a good source of indication of the voltage, like I do with a gauge, and that's a blessing to me to do that, it's a very, very sensitive adjustment. So.
All right.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, my battery's being charged, so I guess
Yeah.
that's the good thing. I just was afraid it was overcharging. So
yeah, I put a new regulator from AH Spares in as well in the spring, and it's doing the same thing as yours. It just seems to work great. Yep.
Okay. Well, then I guess I got a spare regulator.
Well, and Bob, the good news is John didn't have to pay a tariff on the way you did.
I want to throw something out there.
Go ahead, Steve.
You have to be very careful using digital devices around these cars. There's a lot of interference in these cars, especially without resistor plugs in your car. And digital voltmeters, as well as digital timing lights, can give very erratic readings. So don't fully trust the digital voltmeter. Get yourself a good analog meter if you want to really know what the voltage is on one of these old cars.
Wow.
Good to know.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah.
Very
Appreciate
good
that.
to know.
Yeah, that's good. So, John Hughes, I know you said you're working on a friend's BJ8. You have some issues with the flasher and the turn signals.
Yeah, they're not working at all right now, and just the when you put it on one position or the other, just the indicator lights on the dash light up. There's one little click that you hear, and that's it. So I went looking for the flasher relay on my BJ8. It's up on the left front fender, up by the steering box. So I go looking for his, and his is a 67, and I think the serial number is 36623. So it's a later one. And there's no flasher relay up on the fender wall, and there's not even a branch from a wiring harness.
That's supposed to.
And the only thing is there is a flasher on the firewall just above your feet in the engine bay, and that's what I hear is clicking. And the wiring coming in and out of it, the color codes don't match anything on the wiring diagram. And I was just wondering if something changed in the later years of the BJ8, or if this is something that somebody else did.
Yeah, that's correct. It is correct, John. 66 on with the double lights. They didn't use the turn signal control box.
Okay, yes, it has double lights.
Yeah, that's right. So that's a system that doesn't use them because you've got separate brake lights and turn signals, and that's why you needed that control box for single brake lights and turn signals.
Okay, so the problem would be in the flasher unit on the firewall?
Probably. That's where I'd start. Just bypass the flash unit, see if they come on.
Okay. Okay. Good to know. I'll do that.
Also try the hazard switch. Sometimes those hazard switches get stuck and they interrupt the turn signal. No?
Not on a Healy.
Okay.
No. Okay, thank you. Good to know.
Thanks, John, for your question. That's good. I wasn't aware of that. I've never had a double light Healy, so I wasn't aware that there was set up differently than it was on those that have combination lights the way the rest of them go. Well, Michael, thanks for sharing that. I wasn't aware of that. So that's good. Jack Toll, I think you're on the call, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You had a question regarding the heater shutoff valve, correct?
Yes, I did. I was there was an article in the Marquee magazine here last month, and it talked about the valve, and it said don't fool around with it because it'll start to leak. But my question, I wasn't aware of that valve before. My question is, if you shut that valve off in the summertime, will that reduce the heat coming up into the cockpit?
Yep.
Yes.
Theoretically, yes.
Yes, you have a heater core underneath the dashboard, and you're turning the water off to it.
Yeah. Well, then, if anyone else had experience with this valve beginning to leak?
I purchased a new one for this friend's Healy, and it leaked like a sieve, and I'm sending it back.
Who did you purchase it from?
Moss.
Yeah.
So, and what I did, the problem was my original one, the little brass handle broke off.
Oh.
So I ended up taking the old one off, dismantling it, and getting the stub that was broken off and making a new little steel handle out of a screw. I put that in. I dismantled the old one, cleaned it up, put fresh grease in it because they had been lapped together from use, and works like a charm.
Well, is there anything magic about that valve? Apparently, it's a tapered type of valve. Do you have to use something like that, or is that just to keep it original?
We're actually talking about two different valves here. There's a brass valve that John is talking about down on the side of the cylinder head, which is where you can shut the heater off completely. But there's also a cable controlled valve on the top of the heater, which is the one you're talking about that tends to leak.
Yeah.
And I've had poor experience with reproductions of those as well. So yeah.
You're saying you're better off shutting the valve off down by the block?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I would suggest you shut off unless you're going to be using the heater on a regular basis, which not many people do in Heelys, you turn off the valve on the block and leave the slide control alone. It's because the slide control on the heater control is what controls that valve. And when it seems that when you move them up and down a few times, they start to leak. I just leave that closed, close off the valve on the block because I never use the heater.
Okay.
And does that help much in the summer or not, Michael?
Yes.
Not a lot, not a lot. They're just hot. I guess if you got hot water circulating through the heater radiator, the heater core above your knees, yeah, it's probably adding to the heat, but you probably won't notice a hell of a lot of difference.
That's what I was afraid of.
John, I have a really interesting point for you, John, on that little heater valve, that tap that broke off, that handle. Yeah. It's a brass handle. It's the only place on a Healy where there is a 1232 thread. Just so you know next time.
Oh, that's funny because I tapped 1032 and in it went.
Yeah, and it's originally 1232. It's a weird thread.
That is odd, because I've heard of 1224.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, just for your information, John, those little handles are available.
So, yeah.
Bob's saying those little handles are available.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the one that I got, I took it out of the package, and it was stuck in my hand, and I pushed the little lever to free it up, and the lever broke with my fingers. And I'm not that strong, and I ended up taking it apart, and whatever they used for a grease in there, it had hardened up solid.
So you're talking about the valve on the head?
On the block, yeah.
Yeah, on the block, sorry, yeah. No, we're also talking about the valve on the top of the radiator, on top of the heater, which most people don't even know is there.
Yes, well, what I have an MGA as well, and that heater valve that you're talking about underneath the dash, it failed on my MGA, and I lost a couple liters of fluid on the way home. The diaphragm failed, and it was only on the car 2 months, and that royally pissed me off. So I went and I got a ball valve at the hardware store. And I thought, this isn't going to happen again. And I put that in and I ran the cable to it and works like a charm. So when I restored my Healy, I did the same thing above the heater core under the dash. and no diaphragms, a nice little ball valve under there, works like a charm.
Clever.
Just out of curiosity, just out of curiosity, John, where did you get that part from Moss? Where was it made?
Where was it made?
Yes.
I
What
I have
country?
no idea. I know no clue. I didn't see anything on the label.
Well, uh, my experience with Moss is if you look around enough on the box and the packaging and like that, you'll find out.
Okay.
And
Well,
I'm just curious because I see parts coming from all over the world. And I put, for example, two inline fuel filters on my Volkswagen. One came from Russia and one came from Israel.
okay.
Two different car parts areas. Now I do have an Austin-Healey as well, and
Right.
that I bought in 1973. But it's just interesting where parts. I taught geography. Maybe that's the reason it's interesting to me. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, Bruce, while you're in the batter's box, Bruce he's got a '63 BJ7, and it's been off the road for 30 years. And he's asked some questions about how to get her back on the road. So he's replaced the tires, the battery, purchasing a new water pump, new rubber brake lines, as Michael Salter would want him to do. So thank you for that, Bruce. You did a good job there. Fan belt. But then, so why don't you just give us a little update, Bruce, where you are on the process? I know you said the engine turns over. Now, did you turn it over with the starter, or the engine's free, and you were able to use it? You were able to crank, or you were able to turn it with a wrench of some sort?
I turned it with the breaker bar. I put a socket
Yeah.
on, and I took the radiator out of it. There was a little bit of rust. It's interesting because when I was trailering it from California to Tucson, where I am right now, um, the truck I was using had a problem with a radiator hose and lost most of its water, and so I took the water out of the Austin-Healey and put it into the truck to be able to drive the truck, and that worked out. But I didn't have any water in the radiator, and when I took the radiator out, it was kind of rusty in the bottom, and I flushed it out pretty good, and it seems to be all right. So I turned the engine over with the breaker bar and a socket. And one of my son-in-laws was an engine assembler at one point, and he said put a little miracle oil into the engine to turn it over, and that it would dissipate out of there. And it seems to turn over real easy. I haven't tried. I didn't. The lights come on. I haven't tried the starter yet at all, but I was concerned about the lights because it's been in a garage, but there at one point were some rats in the garage, and pack rats love to eat wiring on vehicles, even
Yep.
outside of the garage. So there's a lot of things for me to do, but it was running when I put it in there. And I had driven it on a daily basis up until the time that I put it in there, and I really don't anticipate too many problems with it, but there could be. I rebuilt the transmission shortly after I bought it. The lathe gear had some chips in the teeth, and it was grinding. It was whining as it was going on.
So Bruce,
Buying
really,
it in 19.
so Bruce, really,
Go
the
ahead.
question is, what's next in terms of
What's next? That's the question.
right. So have you tried to turn this? Do you know will the starter engage?
Well, I may find out in a few days because
Okay.
that's hopefully by the end of next week, I'll be working back on it with a friend of mine who's like myself, he was a mechanic at one time in his life. So anything that you can suggest along the line, I put in, or I'm putting in new master cylinders for the clutch and the brake. I have the old ones, and I asked you, John, about that. The ones I have now came from China. And
are they as good as the old ones? I have the old ones I could rebuild.
No, but that doesn't matter. Michael Salt is shaking his head no. So no, the new ones are not as good as the old ones.
The original ones, the internal bore of the master cylinders was hard anodized, and that made them really last. The ones that I've seen from other countries, they're just plain bored aluminum, no anodizing on the surface at all. So they wear out pretty quickly.
Well, that was my anticipation, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to ask some of these questions. I'm sitting in my dining room. I'm not sitting at the table where I rebuilt my transmission, but I still have that table, a dining room table, and a master cylinder sitting over here on the floor. And I'm just thinking of sending those things back to Moss and saying, no, I don't want them. I'll just put a kit into.
Yep. Same with the
And
wheel
that's what
cylinders.
you do, Michael.
Yeah, same with the wheel cylinders. And I would recommend that you put a kit in both it's a 3000, right?
Yes.
3000. Yeah. Put a kit in both
Yes.
calipers and put stainless steel pistons in.
Okay. I'm writing some of this stuff down. Now, initially I didn't. Pardon?
Rebuild the clutch master slave cylinder if you haven't. Same deal.
Yeah, well, I'm older than the average age, apparently, of 71, and I used to have hair, actually. But I expect to be around quite a few years, and initially I didn't pay very much for the car. Most people don't want to hear what I paid for it, so I won't mention that live here. If you're desperate to know how little cars were in 1973, I'll be happy to tell you. But maybe somebody there has. So thank you, Michael. I will go with that. I have your email. You have my new email address, which is BJ7Healy. And if anybody wants to, and 43 is at the end of it. Maybe the 43 means something in my life. Who knows?
So Bruce, do you know if you have any spark?
I do not at this point.
Okay.
But I'm going to check next week.
Okay, because I mean that's kind of the steps you want to go through.
Sure.
See if you have sorry, because obviously you've done a lot of very positive things here. And again, everything Michael said about the brakes and the clutch is very important to do, but they're all different parts of the process along the way you want to follow.
Yeah, and I would like to find my key for it also.
I would highly recommend a high torque starter. It works great. I got one from Moss. It's made by Wasp, and it sure cranks that engine over nice.
You don't need the key. You just bridge the two fuses, and that turns the ignition on. Then you push the button on the solenoid. You're away.
Yeah,
they were quite easy to steal. Not that I know.
Just make sure it's not in gear.
Yeah.
Hey, Bruce, can I ask you a question? You say you changed out the brake hoses. Did you change out the hose that goes to the T, to the rear brakes?
I changed the three of them. There's three. There's two up front, and there's the one in the back. You're asking about?
Yes. Okay.
Under the seats.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And I presume you changed the clutch hose.
Yeah, it's interesting to have three brake lines. I'm used to four brake lines on.
Did you change
other
the clutch
vehicles.
hose? Did you change the clutch hose, Bruce?
No, not to the slave cylinder, you mean, and stuff. No, I haven't. That's
change that hose. They give a lot of trouble.
Yeah. I thought about that.
So that would be a recommendation is to change that as well, Bruce.
What's that?
No, just that would be a recommendation. What Michael said is to replace that as well. So, so just as a point of reference, we are recording this. It will be posted on our website. We're also, as I mentioned to those who joined the call early, we are using AI Companion for this as well. So we will have a written documentation as it relates to the discussions here today. That will be posted on our website as well. So you'll be able to go back and reference that for future use as it relates to this call, Bruce.
Yes, I appreciate that very much.
Okay. Any other quick questions, Bruce?
No.
What about your fuel system? You haven't talked about that.
Actually, I'm changing the gas tank and everything in between it. It has a Volkswagen tank in it. Don't ask me why. And it's been in there since I bought it. I have a feeling that it was run into in the rear end and it damaged the gas tank. And I bought it from a body shop, essentially. And they had put the Volkswagen tank into it. And I bought a steel one maybe 40 years ago and just haven't put it in yet.
Does it remain dry the whole time, Bruce?
Dry? Yes.
The steel tank, does it remain dry the whole
Yes.
time?
Yes,
Okay.
it's always been in my house, and any of you that haven't experienced Tucson, dry here is 1 or 2% humidity.
I understand. You know, the other thing is you may want to replace that fuel line from the tank up to the engine as well.
Yes, I had planned to do that. Yeah.
Might need to address your carburetors too, if they've been sitting a long time.
Yeah. I found out I bought a new steering wheel, and the steering wheel cost half what I paid for the car.
Richard Kahn, are you on the call? I guess you're not. You had a question earlier. And I saw there were some questions in the chat, possibly. So there was Rob Dexter has a question. Any suggestions for a cross-country cover carrier company? So you're asking for an enclosed carrier? Is that what you're asking for?
Yes.
Rob?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. And I
Yeah,
saw there was
somebody already
reliable.
replied and said reliable carriers or Autobox Express. So those are two possibilities. But
Yeah, one of the other ones also is I'm drawing a blank right now. They're in Western Mass. How come I'm drawing such a blank?
Intercity.
Who's that, please?
Intercity.
Yeah,
Intercity.
Intercity. Thanks,
Intercity.
thanks, Rick. Yeah, Intercity Medivic. When I sold my Sprite and went out to Oregon, Intercity we used them for that, and they were great. And Medivic Bob Abbott and I've used Intercity in the past when we did a trip out west, and we've had good experience with them as well.
thank you.
Yep. So I guess that's it. So are there other questions that folks have that haven't been asked tonight?
I've got a question if
Yeah,
we have time.
Hey, Nick, go ahead.
Hey, I've done some research, so I think I know what's going on, but love to hear your opinions. My brakes, it's a 67 BJ8. They work great, but when I've just noticed last month or so, when I release the brake, the actual braking takes about a second or two or three to actually stop braking. When I go to restart, from a stop sign or something. So the brakes are sticking, so to speak.
Booster.
Yeah, because you got a BJ8, right, Nick? Is
Correct.
it 66 or 7?
7.
Okay, so as John would say, it does have a brake booster.
Correct. Yes.
First thing to check is the brake hoses. They can act like the clutch hose does, and you put pressure through the hose. When you release it, it holds the pressure in one of the calipers or the rear wheel cylinders for a few seconds while it bleeds away.
Okay, so check the hoses. Is it something you think it could also be something in the actual, let's say the brake itself, the
booster?
Unlikely.
Unlikely. Okay. One thing I did notice on the servo or booster, it was the hose from the intake manifold that goes to it. It was wrapped in a weird way, nothing like I've ever seen. So I decided to reroute it the way it was done, at least from the pictures I've seen with the figure 8, whatever you call that, the rubber
the little strap.
Yes, and so so it looks nice. It looks more original. And then I noticed that the hose was two pieces, and in the middle of the hose, because it was very long, was a connector, which I thought was a regular connector. So I took that off and connected it right to the servo. And it worked fine. I drove the car. And then I noticed that that piece that I thought was just a regular connector was a one-way valve, which
check valve.
But my understanding is that the servo is supposed to have the check valve built in it, or do I need to re-put that little piece and use it as two pieces of hoses so I have that check valve in there?
Originally, there was only the check valve on the servo itself.
Okay. I guess it can't hurt to have the other one as a safety.
As long as it's installed the right way.
Yeah, no, it is. It will be, at least when I put it back. Yeah.
The check valve that's there is sometimes put in because when you release the brake, it possibly would pull fuel out of the manifold and into that hose.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it only goes one way now. Yeah.
The problem that you're probably having is that there's a down in at that servo or the power brake booster.
Yeah.
In that there is a small teeter-totter valve that directs the vacuum to one side of the diaphragm to apply the brakes, and then when you release the brake, that teeter-totter valve is supposed to flip and allow the vacuum to pull the brake off.
Okay.
Where that little teeter-totter valve sits, and you can see that in your Moss catalog or something. When that sometimes doesn't teeter very well, so it will hold the brake on for a longer period of time because it doesn't allow you to see the vacuum on the pull off the brake side.
Okay, so if it's not the hoses, the next culprit could be the valve in that servo.
Yeah, that the original brake servo is built out of some really lightweight aluminum, and because you're in the vacuum situation there, you get moisture that collects there, and then the little teeter-totter valve where it runs on is aluminum, and so you don't get the action out of that valve that you should.
I think my servo is an aftermarket from my understanding. I don't think it's the original, but I don't know how old it is. The car's, I just bought the car a few months ago.
Can I just jump
actually
in with a question about the same sort of thing? This is Raymond Gay in Sudbury. My brake lights were not working. I bought a new brake unit which fits into the brake line pipe, and my brakes work perfectly, but the brake light would only come on if I press really, really hard on the brake. So much so that I would never press that hard when I'm driving, or I'd be screeching to a halt. So any suggestions as to what might be causing that problem?
It was the brake light switch that you changed?
Yeah, I've changed the brake light switch on it. It just, you'll just
It's a faulty brake light switch. Send it back.
Okay.
They're prone to leakage. They have a seal in them. Brake fluid leaks past the seal, gets on the other side of the sliding of the diaphragm essentially, and it prevents the switch from switching over. So yeah, just it's a faulty switch.
All right. Well, that's an easy thing to try. Thank you very much.
This is quite an interesting discussion because I've driven this 67 BJ8 maybe 3 times, and I'm experiencing all the same concerns that everybody has here. You know, there's a delay, the brake is held on briefly. You know, when I take my foot off, it's really hard to get the brake lights to come on. I push as hard as I can and they come on. This is interesting discussion. So I'm gonna have to look into that stuff.
So just a clarification when you say check the brake lines first, because they may be slow to release the pressure. How do you, what's the best way to check those or flush them out?
This is the brake hoses we're talking about.
Oh, correct. The brake
The
hoses.
easiest way to check them is open a bleed valve and press on the brake pedal and see how much fluid comes out. It should really gush out of the bleed valve. But if what happens to these hoses is that they actually collapse inwards. The internal lining sort of goes like a balloon and stops fluid going through. So if you push down fast on the brake pedal and get very little fluid out of the bleed valve, out of the bleed screw, you've probably got a hose that's bad.
Okay.
If I was troubleshooting this, what I would do is put the car on a 2-post lift, and if all 4 of your wheels were seeing the problem of sticking, then it's probably something with master cylinder booster like that. But if you have like a front right wheel sticking, what I would do is open the bleeder on the front left wheel to relieve that pressure. And if it doesn't relieve the pressure, you know that it's the brake hose that's holding that pressure there at that one corner. So open up the bleeder on the opposite corner of the one that's sticking if it's just one that sticks.
Okay. I don't know if it's just one that sticks, obviously, because it just happens for a second, and I'm in the car driving, so I maybe have to get my wife involved in this.
Yeah, if you can get it up off of the ground, get inside the car and pump on the brakes real good, and then just have someone run around and see which tires they can turn.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, because obviously, Nick, if you don't have a 2-post lift the way Steve does, you get it up on jack stands.
Yeah.
So look at it that way, obviously.
Yeah, I'd have to use jack stands. Yeah.
Michael? The other thing you could do is get a 100.
Sounds expensive.
Someone had a question for Michael?
I do. Michael, I always understood that the benefit of braided hoses is that they're lined with Teflon rather than rubber, which doesn't disintegrate the same way. Do you ever find that to be true?
I think that's true, but the originals lasted 40 or 50 years. I'm not going to be around. My opinion.
Well, another thing you might want to think about on those is they are susceptible to melting with high temp. And with a braided steel line or a hose, you're not going to be able to tell if it's damaged. You're not going to be able to tell if it's old, whereas with the rubber hoses, you can. So some people have a tendency of probably using the stainless hoses a little too long than they should.
That's a good point, Steve. Thank you. Nick, any other questions?
I have a couple notes here. Well, I guess there's one that it just seems weird that my radiator seems like it's bulged out up at the top. Obviously, there's been pressure in there. I have a cap that's a 7-pound, I believe it is. Everything seems to be working, but something's not working. The car runs fine, cool, nothing crazy. Could it be something up with the thermostat, or I don't know how the pressure could be building when the cap should release it. At least the way
I think when in the old days when engines used to get really, really hot, people used to drive and they were really hot. The only relief for that pressure was through the cap, and there was so much steam produced that the cap couldn't relieve the pressure. So they could go up to 50, 60 pounds without too much trouble. And that's what makes the tanks look like they've been blown up. But if the radiator doesn't leak, it'll probably last forever.
Okay, so just leave well enough alone. I was going to get another cap, but it's probably not the cap.
No, I wouldn't think so. No, it would have been caused probably years and years ago by serious overheating.
Okay.
We have been finding that radiator caps rated at 7 pounds are quite often good for 35 pounds before they release.
Oh boy.
we managed to find a radiator cap tester, and we've been routinely testing caps, and most of them are much higher release than what they state on the top.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Well, maybe I could try another one. Wouldn't hurt. I do have one other question, which is maybe a basic one, but I know a couple of you were helping me with the issue I had with the engine vibration. Turned out it was a vacuum issue that I fixed on the.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so it was a bad connection, and it was done with a rubber tube from the intake manifold to the oh, I'm having a senior moment here, wherever that to get your vacuum advance
To the distributor.
Yeah, distributor. So what I decided is get rid of the rubber tube and do it the way it was meant again, original, with the copper tubing around the engine head. And I can't, and it has two clips that hold the copper tubing. One of them is on a bolt in the back corner of the engine head, and I can't get it loose. I've hit it with penetrating oil for days, and I haven't put too much torque and pressure on it because I don't want to break it. Is that a concern, or should I just put as much pressure as I can until it breaks loose?
It's a little 1/4-inch fine bolt, hex head, and if it's rusted into the head, you're probably doing about as much as you can to get it loose. I would tend to leave. Well, have you been able to feed the copper line through the P-clip?
No, I'm putting the P-clip on that.
Oh, you don't have, there's no P-clip on that nut.
No, I put the one on the heater side. There's one that goes on the heater valve that we were talking about before.
Yeah.
But the one that goes in the,
good luck. Try taking it out when the engine's really hot.
I've tried that too. I'm going to soak it some more. What I haven't done is put an extension to my wrench and try to crank it. Is there a chance
you should be able to break it off if you do that?
Okay, I won't do it. Leave well enough alone.
I mean, the other thing to try to do is if you have a Bunsen burner, is put some heat on it, and then while it's cooling down, then you put your rust release on it, and do that a couple of times. Yeah, penetrating. Oh, thanks, Peter.
Yeah.
And the temperature change back and forth may just release it for you.
I've read about that. I haven't tried it, but that's probably going to be my next and last attempt. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Other question? No, Dave Francis.
Yeah, I've got a 57 BN4 that I picked up 2 years ago, and thanks to Dave Silverclight at Bug Eye Guys in Norwalk, who did some work on the car, it's performed beautifully for the last 2 years. I decided to extend the season this year, and the two prior owners, going back 30 years, had a soft top that they never put on the car. And I broke it out last weekend, got it into the slots on the side of the back seat, and went to hook the lid, the rubber, the wooden cap over the top of the windshield, and I've got spaces of about a half an inch on either side of the frame, and I'm afraid to lock that thing in because it might crack the windshield. And I'm not sure whether the top end of the soft top warped over time, or because it hasn't been on the car in 30 years. So I don't know what to do.
Obviously, and Dave, you put it on when it was cold out too, right? So it shrunk.
Maybe 60 degrees in my garage.
Yeah.
But ideally, you want a nice warm day with the sun on it.
Yeah, let the sun. Yeah. Yeah, I
And
worked in an
tomorrow's not the day to do it, Dave.
Right. So you would expect some warpage of that wood, or because the windshield's not warping.
I mean, the vinyl's probably shrunk.
Yeah.
I worked at an upholstery shop for about 5 years, and one thing was putting the top out and in the sun and just letting it really get it warm. We had a top once. We were going to send it back because it seemed too short, and it was on a BN2. And once it got really warm, we actually had to cut some excess off, so that the heat from the sun makes a big difference. The other thing is I learned old tops that have been laying in the box can shrink. So if it's still in the box and hasn't been used in 30 years or something like that, it may have shrunk. So,
but you would think if it shrank, it would have pulled that piece of wood in the front in rather than expanding it out.
Well, the wood probably didn't shrink.
Yeah, the wood probably
The
didn't. It
vinyl
was just
shrank.
the top. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
So I've had
Go
some
ahead, Rob.
experience. The same
Okay,
thing on my BT7 is that wood piece that goes over the windshield that the vinyl goes over on mine has warped as well.
Really? Okay.
What'd you do about it?
I resanded it and tried to make it fit better, but it's still not good.
I'm just afraid I'm going to stress the windscreen and snap the damn thing.
Right.
You have to remember that the vinyl tops are also built on cotton, and cotton, as it gets damp and dry and damp and dry, tends to shrink. So you might get the vinyl to soften up, but you probably will never stretch the cotton.
Right.
I think I just put a coat on, driver with a top down.
That's what I've done for the last two.
All I do. I don't think I've seen my top in 2 years.
So Dave, when you have the top up, but you can't get it closed. Could you?
I can put the top. I can put it on a lip on the front of the windscreen.
Understand? Yeah.
If I try to attach one end of it, the other end bends around, so it's about a 1-inch gap, and I'm afraid to lock it in and then bend the other one, crank the other one around, and try to lock it in because I'm afraid I'm going to stress the windscreen or snap it.
I just put the top up on my BN1 2 days ago for the winter, and there's 3 little triangular chrome tabs on the inside that are supposed to go on the inside of the top frame, and then it goes over. If they keep an eye on them, if they are intersecting or bumping against the top frame, the back end of the top frame, it's not going to go down.
Right.
And you may not be looking at them because you're focused on the front end and trying to get it in, and they're holding it. So I went through, sounds like the exact same experience, and I put the top on many times, and it was cold, and those little triangular chrome pieces were getting in the way. So I had to, just keep an eye on them. So.
Yeah,
but I'm not sure. Are those?
I think we're dealing with the
tabs.
Right. We're dealing with BN4. They don't have those.
Right.
There's a BN4, correct?
Those are only on hundreds. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought he said he had 100. Okay.
No, he's gonna be in 4.
Okay. Sorry. Then you're lucky.
Well. So could you? So if you were put Gorilla tape on that, would that close it off to be able to hold it in place without putting any additional strain on the top of the windscreen?
No. I've used Gorilla tape to patch the mouse holes on it, but
okay. Other questions
I'll let
tonight?
you know next time.
Thanks, Dave.
Peter, Jack Toll here. You and I corresponded a little bit about that Valvoline motor oil after we talked to the people at Valvoline. And
yes,
they said that the Valvoline, that stuff we recommend, the racing oil, will break down after 6 months. Did you get to the bottom of that?
I did some research on it, and no, I did not. Again, so we were talking about the Valvoline VR1 2050, the ZDDP, and there was, and I was not able to refine that information, Jack. but there was a suggestion that should be changed instead of once a year, which I think most of us are doing. It was saying it should be changed possibly as often as every 6 months.
That's what I
Which
got, but they said regardless of the mileage.
so no, I don't have anything more to share as it relates to about that, Jeff.
Okay.
Has anyone heard of anything like that in terms of changing your motor oil that frequently?
When any manufacturer tells me that I should do things more frequently, I'm always skeptical.
Yeah. So
Is it-
when they say break down, what do they mean by break down? Does the zinc settle out the bottom? I don't know.
Yeah, it didn't get that much detail, John.
Yeah.
I got the impression that it just lost its extra lubricating capacity that was afforded by the zinc, but I don't know.
Yeah. Why?
Yeah, I don't. I'm doing mine once a year still.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Other questions this evening?
Pete, I would think this is a personal choice, but since I've had so many things that led me to believe it's not the case, I'm changing on my BJ8. I'm changing the cooling fan to a larger cooling fan, which is causing me to take the radiator out.
Right.
So I'm replacing the hoses. Does it make a difference what type of clamp I use on the upper and lower radiator hose?
So did you have the original style there, which were the ones with the hook compared to
I believe so, yes.
I mean, obviously, you've got an excellent driver, Kevin, but it's not a concourse car.
No,
So,
not at all.
So I would use the traditional band style clamps instead of those original style with the hooks.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was thinking, but I didn't know if it made a difference. So thanks very much.
You're
I'd
welcome.
use ones that don't leak.
Those guys from Nova Scotia, aren't they? They're really smart.
Yeah.
I have a request, Pete.
Please, Michael.
As people might know, I do the concourse guidelines, and we are looking for a good clear photograph or two of the original decal that was on overdrive relays, which was usually on the top of the overdrive relay, the end opposite to terminals, and I think it said overdrive relay. It was on a red background with white lettering. Does anybody by chance have a card that still has an intact original sticker for that relay?
How do you find it?
I think they were fitted to all models, but they came off pretty quickly.
I don't think so.
Not
And
very
Gypsum, any
encouraging.
possibly you have got that?
Yeah. Not encouraging.
Michael, where is the relay?
The relay on 6-cylinder cars is near the throttle switch on the firewall. Okay, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just next to it, and I can hold. This is what it looks like. If you can see this, hang on. That's a relay.
Yeah.
And the sticker was originally here. This one has the remains of the adhesive.
And then it was Iona's birthday, and we were invited last night.
Put you on mute, Fred. Yeah, because I mean, obviously, Rich just did his restoration at Enclave 2022. Do you have that sticker on your overdrive switch, Rich?
Pete, I don't know. I think I also have another original relay sitting in a box in my basement.
I'd be grateful if you could look at it, and if
I
you
will.
have it, send me a photograph of it.
I will.
Thank you.
That'd be great, Rich. If you have that. Chris, you got a question?
Well, I just want to report that I've joined the Facet Fuel Pump Club.
Okay.
I'd pretty much had it with my SU, which had gone bad on me several times, and after crawling around and hitting it and squeezing it and pulling on it and rebuilding it, yeah, it's gone. And I'll probably do the double fuel pump before spring. as I think that's a great idea. But I ended up being close to Squire Motors up in Rockland, Maine, and it's a great shop. These guys do a wonderful job, and I was lucky enough that they would see me the same day and get that pump put on. And we also looked at the rear end of my car, because after putting in the steering box and steering column, which gave me a lot less play in the wheel, but still there's more play than I thought there would be with the new steering column and steering box that I got from AH Spares. We went around to the rear end, and yeah, things were pretty bad back there. And the spring locating plate, where the hole is there in the middle there, was ripped on one of them. I mean, things were pretty loose. The bushings got replaced, and the car actually steers where I want it to go now. It's pretty amazing.
Chris,
That's great.
Place in
Yeah.
Rockland?
It used to be that I could hit the gas in this thing when I was up to speed on the turnpike, and it would jump to the left about a foot. And when I take my foot off the gas, it would jump to the right about a foot. And it was pretty hard to keep going straight at speed. But now, boy, points and it goes. It's wonderful.
What's the name of the place in Rockland? That you-
It's Squire, is it Rockland, Maine?
Rockland,
Rich.
Maine.
Rockland, Maine. Squire Motors,
Squire
they're
Motors.
on our website.
Yeah.
Breck and Taz are the two
Yeah.
owners there. Matter of fact,
Yeah,
they
they
were
raise
very,
Heelys. They're very knowledgeable. They've got about 4 or 5 Heelys in the shop right now. They're rebuilding one completely and doing a frame up.
Oh,
And-
good. I have a summer place in Friendship, so I've.
Oh, yeah.
Time.
They're right on Route 90.
Okay.
well, and they
Yeah.
just moved to a new shop, haven't they, Chris?
Yeah, it used to be Princess Furniture. So it's kind of West Rockport. Rockland is pretty much on the line there.
Okay.
It's a great shop. It's a big shop. They've got all sorts of stuff in there. And yeah, they know their stuff. And boy, that car is 100% different. They drove it and
Excellent.
said, God, it's trying to kill me just going to the gas station. I said, yeah, you ought to try it at 75 or 80. It was,
Well,
What do most people consider too much play in the steering wheel?
I still have about 1.5 inches, even with the new steering box and
Really?
steering column. Yeah, but I had more than that before. And that combined with the rear end made that car real interesting to drive.
Because I have about 1 inch, and there's times, especially at speed,
Yeah.
when I'm really not sure what direction I'm going in.
You might want to check your rear end too,
Yeah.
because that's what was wrong with mine. I mean, it was, and then of course, so that combined with the slack in the steering, once it started going off, then there was a little bit more delay, and it, yeah, it was a challenge.
Yeah.
Good. Other questions? Okay. Well, thank you all for joining. I know we had a large perspective. This is the largest call we've ever had. We've been doing this for 8 years. So thank you all who have participated and joined. So our next call will be, again, it's always the second Monday of the month for the Northeast. Again, we are planning to expand this out into those other areas. But I'm going to share my screen. I'll show you what we made some enhancements to the website. So if you look at, on our website now, here are the YouTube collections. So we have, so if you go to the Northeast, so these are where we have all of ours. So we will have the next edition here will be this Northeast one for November. This is always, again, it's always the second Monday of the month. And we do have the permanent, it is a recurring Zoom meeting for that. We do also have out there, you may be interested in, this is those that are familiar with Jack Rawls and when he and Bill were racing here in the US last year. The most recent year we've got he was at the Freddie March trophy race at the Goodwood Revival. So we've got both of those are out there on our website. Thank you very much to Rick Neville. Rick Neville's the one who posts these on our YouTube page. So thank you, Rick, for that. But as I mentioned, we are going to have these additional ones out here. So we've added the Mid-America. So that call was last Wednesday on the Mid-America one. We'll be doing that on again on a monthly basis. And so we're again crossing the country in Canada. Planes, we have nothing in that yet. And then Road to Road America is, the information that Jack Rawls put together on bringing the cars for the Healey World Challenge last year. So again, those are enhancements that we've made to the website over the past couple of weeks. And again, as you recall, we have the supplier database that's out there, so you can continue to look for any questions you have as it relates to suppliers, and you can download that database at any point in time. On the historical magazine, these are all go back to the chatters, which was what was called before the Healey Mark. And again, it's now current and up to date as it relates to every edition of the Healey Mark is in there. And so from there, you can go through and do searches as it relates to on the certain particular areas here. You can do a primary search on different areas of history of cars or technical, the body and so forth. So it gives you an opportunity to looking at any of those sorts of things as well. So, take when you get a chance, take advantage of that. Nick, you got a question?
Quick question on the supplier database, to get names of shops that do good work. Who
Yep.
keeps that up to date? And is there a way that people
I do.
can comment to say, hey, I
Yes.
had a good experience, bad experience?
Yep, I'm the ones who maintains that, and so I do get updates. So typically coming out of these calls, I update this on a regular basis. So if you have a recommendation of a supplier,
Okay.
just drop me a note, and we'll make sure to do that. On that database, when we do that, we include it's in an Excel file.
Yeah.
So hopefully you see that. So you can go through and sort by whether the city, the state, the province, and then we also always include their websites for that, who the contacts are. So if anyone has any additional recommendation of suppliers that are not currently on the database, please let me know. So it is sorted alphabetically, but again, you can look at different categories for different activities. So Big Healey Performance as an example, and that's where Dennis Motorsports is the one that's shown up in that one.
Yeah. We need some good options in Connecticut.
Well, that's the reason we have it sorted by, so you can sort by state, and obviously it's it's regional in that way. So you can go through and look at, you mentioned Connecticut, so it has all the suppliers that are actually in Connecticut. Now you can see they're across multiple categories in different companies, but so again, if you have any other recommendations of suppliers, please let me know, and we'll get those updated.
Great, thanks.
Yep. Just let you know, another thing what we've done recently is we now have a QR code for AHCA. So upper right hand corner, upper left hand corner. So that takes us directly to our website. So what we do is on all of our communication. So future Healey marks that come out are going to have the QR code. They'll go directly to our website. So those are some of the recent enhancements that we've made. Anything in closing folks have questions on?
Peter, I wanted to just sort of, I talked, I think, a couple months ago about the fact I was having problems with my fuel pump. And I did try, as Mike recommended, to put a piece of paper between the contacts and rub that, and that did work for a while. But then on the way down to Cape Cod, my fuel pump failed, and I was able to limp to our destination. But I did replace it with a electronic contacts pump, square body pump.
Yeah.
I bought from AH Spares, and it's been working fine. So far so good. We'll see.
Yeah, I've got facet pumps in all my cars.
Yeah.
Some of them I have, both my 100 and my BJ8, I have both an SU and a facet. My Sprites, I run purely facets.
Yep.
So
I'm happy with the facet I put in. I think it was a 40104. And Yeah, it works great. And it's pretty quiet too. You can hear it, but it's pretty quiet.
Now, obviously, it doesn't meet the requirements of the concourse committee, but it
It runs.
That's right. It's better than being stuck on the side of the road, isn't it?
Yes,
Like
it
Chris.
is.
Yeah.
Well, the concourse committee isn't around when you're at the side of the road.
But you meet the nicest people on the side of the road, don't you, Ken?
Yes, you do.
Actually, yes. Yeah. More people stopped to help me when that thing went out. It was quite amazing.
Yeah, that's great. So, well,
Well,
again,
you shouldn't be so tough on the rear ends there, Michael.
that's right. You need to carry a spare axle with you, especially when you got a spiral bevel. Not many of those out there, are there?
all fixed now and back in.
Well, I still have 2 more spares, Michael, if you ever need another one.
Yeah, I'm down to about 6 or 7.
Okay. Wow. Okay. You're better than I. So, but, well, again, thank you all for joining tonight. Hopefully you found it a valuable time. Those that are new, that have come on for the first time, both Steve Rickson and Steve Myers, hopefully you found some value with this. They're going to be 2 of our experts on the plains call that will, again, those states in the middle of the country. So hopefully you found some value from what we did here tonight, and look forward to talking in the future. Those of you who are in the States, hope you have a very happy Thanksgiving. Those who are veterans, thank you for your service. Tomorrow is Veterans Day in the United States, and we look forward to talk to you guys again the beginning of December, the second Monday of December. Thank you all.
Thanks, Pete.
Okay, thank you.
Good night.
Good job, Peter.
You're very
Thank you.
welcome. Thank you.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.